In this video, I'm going to talk about how the yarn wraps around the needle and how to place your stitches back on the needle given that the yarn needs to wrap around it a certain way. And it's really going to be easier for me to show you this if I move some of these stitches over to the right hand needle without actually knitting them. So you can see here how the yarn comes over the top and down off the needle, much the same way that it did when we were talking about like when you how to knit and purl. It comes over the top of the needle and down, only this time it's connected. So then you can see it comes over the top and it goes to the strand between the stitches, and then that same strand goes to the back of this next stitch. And so that's how this will go. It will come over the top and around to the back, over the top and around to the back. So look at it again. Comes over the top, across to the next stitch, and around to the back. So if I were doing some knitting and I wasn't paying attention and this stitch dropped off here and I had to pick it back up, and let's just say I picked it up like this, if I can get all the strands, there we go. Now it's coming off of the front, and how do I want to place it? I know that the strand that goes to the next stitch needs to go in the back, so I'm going to want to turn that stitch back around so that it is going from the front and then to the back. And this might happen if you're just knitting and you drop a stitch off, or it might happen if you had to, go tend to something in the house and put your knitting down and either a child got it or your pet got it, or, even if you accidentally came back and sat down on it, and, a stitch can fall off of your needle at any time. So you really need to know how it needs to be, wrapped around that needle. This can also happen, it's not that it had happened by accident, but if you just pull your needles out and rip out a bunch of stitches, you're going to have to know how to put them back on the needle and how they have to do that circular wrapping motion. Now, if you do come in and you've accidentally put a stitch back on your needle in the wrong way, you can see that it goes from here and straight back to the front instead of the back. If you don't realize that it's twisted, and you come in here and you put your needle in to knit it or to purl in it, and it doesn't quite feel right, there's a good chance that it could be twisted, and you'll just have to take a look at it and see that it is twisted, and just pick the stitch up from the back or the front, either way, and place it back on the needle so that it is going correctly over the front to the back and then back over the top again. And then here it goes over to the next needle and to the back. So when you get progressed far enough into your knitting and you've learned how to do decreases, occasionally this information about how the stitches wrap around the needle, how the yarn wraps around the needle, will come in pretty handy. I've got a decrease here called the SSK, a slip-slip knit. And what happens whenever you work a slip-slip knit is you actually twist some of the stitches while you're working the stitch. And then if you come back in here and you made an error back here and you had to undo these stitches, like when we talked about the unknitting lesson, because these stitches are lying one over the top of the other, I would probably insert my needle into the back and drop that stitch off the needle and pull the loop out. Now, I come in here and I look to see if my stitches are right. Well, I can see this one is going from the front, but in order, well, it's not going from the front, but the back is what is actually leading to the strand and to the next stitch. So what I have to do is I either pick up the back loop or the front loop. I picked up the back one before. I'll pick it up this way, and then I have to turn it around and place it back on my needle. Well, it had 2 stitches, so I need to move that over to the other side and take a look at the next one. It's coming off the back as well. That back strand is what's leading over to the next stitch. So I want to pick that one up and turn it around and then double check and look at it and make sure this one's coming over the front. It's leading to the back. Let's see if we can show that right in there. It's leading to the back. And then this one comes over to the front. This is the stitch that hasn't been worked. Comes over the front to the strand and to the back. So now they're all facing the right direction and I'm ready to work them. Now, you know, if you don't get them turned right around the right way the first time while you're undoing it, which I almost always get them wrong, or at least one of them is wrong, you can always do it when you're coming back. If you come in here and you feel like, you know, it doesn't feel right, you can always twist it back to where it's going the right way. This is not the right way, but I can just pick that stitch up and place it back on the needle and then knit it however I need to do it.